This is Larry Batiste, and you're listening to The Break It Down Show.
And now, The Break It Down Show with John and Pete.
Every once in a while, I find myself in a location where I am lucky enough that this show brings me in the presence of greatness. And I will say today is one of those days because I am sitting across from Larry Batiste, who has given us, all of us worldwide, but mostly those of us here in the Bay Area who have been lucky enough to be in your somewhat quiet influence. 40 years of entertainment, of music, of goodness and love. And here we are.
Absolutely. I'm really glad to be here, and I just appreciate you reaching out. It's really cool.
Well, I'm reaching out, and I never let my motive be masked. What I'd like to do is feature some things that I wanted to talk to you about today, which is really nothing in particular, just Larry being Larry. But of course, you have been for a very long time, those of us in the Bay Area know, half of the duo of Larry and Claytoven.
Yes.
So ultimately, I'd like to get the two of you to sit around this table so we can really chop it up and speak to some stories that involve you both. But I like to open this show up with a segment that I will call Larryisms.
Uh-oh.
These are things that you post on Facebook, man, that just make me and those of us, several thousand of us who follow you around, just feel better during the day and a little more motivated and a little more appreciative.
Yeah, I like to share positive thoughts, because it seems like this world is just meant to beat you down so much. So I don't need to talk about all the violence and all the crime and all the crazy stuff. But if I run across something that's going to lift us up, I'm going to let me share that because we all need that.
Well, let me give you some Larryisms, everybody.
Okay.
Life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. That really resonates with me. And that's, it's just like you could stay in this little bubble and never expand, or you could go for something and really learn something, meet new people. I was at an event last year, and Quincy Jones said, you have to go to know, meaning that you have to go out there and experience life and tread some uncharted territory.
Yeah, we can sit around and be complacent and stay close to home. And we can get out there.
Absolutely. I have a book deal. I'm writing a book. I've been writing for a few years now. And one of the reasons why, when somebody came to me with that, I'm going, well, I'm not an author. It was some, who wants to read my book? There's so many songwriting books out there. And my friend was saying, well, you should teach. With that led into me teaching.
Is it a songwriting book?
It's a book about songwriting. It's called The Art and Business of Songwriting.
Okay.
And so
that is something we can learn from you.
That is my business. And there's something, the creative part is always the easy part, but not really when you get into the skill of it. But, after you created the thing, what about the business part of it? So what am I going to do with this, And so anyway, so that was a challenge to me. And so that took me out of my comfort zone. And I'm learning so much, and I'm so appreciative to be doing it. And hopefully it'll be out by the end of the year or something.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So if it's going to be out by the end of the year, I'm sure whoever gave you this book deal is like chomping at the bit to get your content out there because.
Yeah. Well,
and the reason that I say, is it about songwriting? Like that surprises me.
It's about songwriting. It's the art and business of songwriting. So and of course the trends and things keep changing. And so as soon as I write something, you think, oh no, people aren't doing that anymore. But it's just, I have to just be present and write for what's going on now. But I've really been really blessed. I'm signed to Oxford University Press, which is, the biggest publisher in the world. So hopefully somebody will get to read it, and hopefully it could be required reading or something. I'm dreaming now. but I'm hoping to get to that point. But I'm having fun.
I don't think that's a stretch. I mean, a 40-year career in music, that is a run that anybody would love to have just a small portion of.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. I can't believe it. You think you just went by so fast, but you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And basically, I'm just trying to feed people. I got 3 kids, and so I keep working, and I end up with 15 jobs in the music business. Basically, people say, "Well, what do you do?" And I go, "What do you want me to do?"
Right.
I show up. And the kids are like, "Hey, what's for dinner?"
Hey, they keep wanting to eat.
They keep asking that question, "What's for dinner?" And I'm like, "Hey, well, didn't you eat last night?" And this is becoming a habit.
I guess I'm gonna have to go make some more of this music tomorrow.
Right, so, but it's all good. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm learning so much.
Well, you have every right to write the book about the craft and the business of songwriting because you've done quite a bit in terms of both of those things. I mean, one feeds the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just life and your presence and your capability to influence somebody positively. I'm sure that I could reach out to our couple hundred mutual friends and say, hey, just throw out one word about Larry. I'm sure like love would be prevalent, that positivity, things like that, just the life philosophy things that make a person look at either their craft or their business and say, man, I really have to find the gumption to keep going. Yeah. And that's where you find it.
Yeah, it is. I think we really have to support one another. We have to lift each other up. And that's really what it's really about. The business is fierce. So you just try to be careful who you let in your circle, and keep the positive stuff happening and try to work with good people, surround yourself around great people.
So let's go back to the beginning. Where does it start for Larry? What made you say, it's music, I got to do it?
When we really want to do this, I started off as a trombone player, playing at 11 years old,
all right.
And then joining bands, and they had a soul band and all that kind of stuff, and being in the battle of the bands and all those type of things. But then it comes down to, you're in the 12th grade, okay, what are you going to do?
Somebody's always asking that question of the 12th graders, right? What are you going to do?
And my business partner now in Claytoven, who's my business partner then, we started a publishing company in the 12th grade.
In the 12th grade?
In the 12th grade.
So you guys were in the band together at Castlemont?
Oh, absolutely. I met Claytoven. I was about 10 years old when we met, and we saw each other playing, and maybe it was probably 11 years old.
Okay.
But anyways, we saw each other playing in these 2 different competing bands, and the thing is, he was playing James Brown, but instead of playing the saxophone, he was playing on the bass clarinet.
Oh.
So that was so interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I had to meet this guy.
That's a nice voice for that.
Right. Exactly. So we became really good friends, and so when it came around to the 12th grade, we was thinking, what you going to do? And well, who's making money in the music business? And so we knew great musicians who were geniuses that were starving. So we go, oh, well, wait a minute. And see, it seems like the record labels and the songwriters and publishers, these are people who are actually making a living, and the other folks, although they're great, they pay for everything, and so we decided we better be in the business of music. And so that's when we started the publishing company.
In the 12th grade.
12th grade.
That is amazing foresight.
We had a bunch of mentors that helped us along the way, and that's why I think that in my heart is a giving heart, because someone gave to me, and I gotta just pay it forward and do the same thing.
Yeah.
So when we started our business, we said, well, we got to know something about the business, the legal aspect. So we contacted this lawyer, and we did our little search and stuff. And there was this guy named Jeffrey Grabard, who at that time he managed all the big groups in the Bay Area. He had Santana, Janis Joplin, Fleetwood Mac.
I recognize a couple of those names.
So we saved our little $1.25, and it was $125. And so we said, we're going to talk to him. We thought that would be enough. And
$125, that bought you a coffee break.
That's right. So, but we made an appointment, and we go in to see him. And, he's an old Jewish guy. So when we walked in, these 2 little black kids, he looked at us and he kind of chuckled. And he said, wow, because he thought we were like adults.
Yeah. You little knuckleheads doing in here.
Right. So we came on in, and you know what? he told his secretary to put everybody on hold, and he spent the day with us. Then he took us to lunch. Afterwards, he came back and talked to us again about, the music business, about what a publishing contract should look like, about, just different aspects of legal issues. And then at the end of the day, I said, well, how much do we owe you, sir? He says, that's okay. I said, no. We're ready to pay you. That little 125 was burning my pocket. And he says, oh, no. He said, well, you sure? And I said, yeah. He says, okay, $375 times 7 hours. And so I had to back down, But anyway, but from that point on, he checked with us about once a month. Okay, what are you guys working on now? Send us that contract, that kind of thing. And so, so he mentored us in that way.
Wow.
And so we got our legal stuff together and our contracts and stuff. And
that's an amazing piece of generosity that he gave you. But
isn't that something?
The other thing that I find amazing is that you and Claytoven had the awareness to seek it out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's what impressed him, because he thought to himself, these guys are going to be successful. I think I'm going to try to help them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And everybody starts from somewhere.
Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know to copyright your stuff? How do you know the publishing? How do you know how this whole deal works? You don't know unless somebody guides you.
Right.
And so I just really appreciate that. And it was the same thing with our high school band teacher. This guy named Bill Bell was a mentor. And he mentored a bunch of great people.
There was just a reunion recently, wasn't
Well, we
there?
just did that. We organized it for him. And it turned out great. And it was so easy because, every musician I called said, oh, of course, Bill Bell. Yeah, he's dad, And so, but he was another one to where he said, okay, you guys have a suit? He's talking to Claytoven and I. We say, yeah. He says, okay, I want you to show up at such and such and such. And we would show up there, and it's Buddy Montgomery, or it's Billy Eckstine, or it's Eartha Kitt. And so, I thought about this years later, that what a chance he took on us high school students.
Yeah.
I mean, this is his real life professional gig. And, he took a chance on us, but it gave us a view of what it would be like to be a professional musician, to show up on time, to do all these things and be prepared, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, so that's mentoring.
Really help you to understand the standard.
Exactly.
I think he had the wherewithal to say, you guys are serious about it.
Yeah.
Let me help you to understand where your baseline is.
Exactly.
Because there's going to be a certain level of polish expected of you.
Yeah.
Let's polish you up.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned Buddy Montgomery, because the episode that we just posted this week is Micah Montgomery.
Yes.
Our friend. And she even managed to mention him in because he was her grandfather.
Yes.
Last week, I came down to Oakland with the intention that we were going to get together. And then, I know you've been battling a bout of laryngitis. And you told me what your prescription was for the bout of laryngitis. Which was a clam up, sit still. And when I thought I was coming down to Oakland anyway, I reached out to Micah, because she has a book and some things that it's going to be Micah Montgomery Day.
Oh, wow.
In Oakland on April 3rd.
Wow.
I'm going to say that because we're going to publish this show before that as well.
Well, I hope to be there.
Yeah. She's doing a children's literacy mission that's really taking hold in Oakland. And, her desire to empower kids is a lot like what you're talking about, which is really just to give a kid a chance to do what they want to do.
Absolutely. She's awesome. I love her.
Yeah. But naturally, when I got together with her, I said, I thought I was coming to town today to meet up with Larry. And I didn't know that you two had known each other so well.
Yeah.
And so naturally, she
a small world.
Speaks wonderfully of you. Everybody speaks wonderfully of you, man.
I pay him.
So you must pay him pretty good. So there you are in high school. You're just getting your footing. Where was the first place where you thought, okay, this is a break? When you're a kid and you get that first little nugget of something, you go, okay, we got it now. And you have no idea that you don't quite have it yet. It's going to be a 40-year thing of putting one foot in front of the other.
Every day is a break.
Yeah.
Every day is a break. You're right. I heard someone talk about your overnight success.
Uh-huh.
And the artist said, it's been a long-ass night.
Uh-huh.
Because
the overnight success.
Overnight success.
22 years in the making.
Yeah, exactly. You constantly work on that night, But it's been a series of things, coming out of high school. I think our first major record, was Bill Summers and Summer's Heat. We joined that group. I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Summers.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really great, and we had the opportunity there, Clay Taylor and I, to be co-producers on his records.
Wow.
And we did, one for Fantasy Records, and we signed the MCA. Mm-hmm. And I think, one light bulb moment had to been when we was doing the first tour, and we had a song out called Call It What You Want.
Okay.
And it was top 10, and we didn't get much airplay in the Bay Area, but, we were really popular down south. Mm-hmm. Hearing or looking out in the audience and see them singing the words of this song that you wrote in your garage, that was pretty amazing. That was just the power of that kind of communication. Mm-hmm. And that made me think, if you have that, you should use that to really say something cool. If you ever able to reach those amount of people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we see that curve in the evolution of artists that have any longevity. You get to see somebody you like and their management's teaching them to do some dance moves or whatever, and then and I'm describing the career arc of many, many people.
Mm-hmm.
They get an audience, and then they start to realize, I do have the ability to make an impact here. I should probably say something that's of some consequence.
Right, exactly.
And you get the Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Maurice White, artist after artist after artist. When you start to realize, like, my voice is getting heard.
Yeah.
I better say something.
Yeah, exactly.
So you felt that feeling pretty early on.
Yeah, that was a milestone.
Yeah.
But, it goes on from there, and it's, for one little achievement after another, a chart position, or you're able to go into some underserved areas to talk to kids about careers in music and mentor them. So I've done a lot of that, that people probably don't know about, but that's good. It's very rewarding.
Yeah.
So areas like Alaska and where there's not a music industry, you go into and you talk to kids. So that's been very rewarding to do.
That seems like the mission of somebody who is having a pretty good time with it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go to a place like Alaska, where that's the furthest place from a career in music that I can think of. I mean, any place in the country, you can point to some place on the map. You can point to Lubbock, Texas.
Right, exactly.
And go, oh, well, that's where Buddy Holly's from. Somebody's from there.
Somebody's from somewhere.
But you could point to some place in Alaska and you're like, well, there's...
Yeah. But I was telling somebody the other day, music is our ticket to the world.
Yeah.
I met most of my relatives because of music. We'd have a gig in Texas, and my mother would say, "Oh, you going to Texas?
Look up your
calls cousin so and so and so. Oh, you going to wherever you're going?
Yeah.
There was always somebody, and if it wasn't for music, I wouldn't have been there.
Wow.
And so music has so many gifts and so many blessings. You just have to give some of that back.
Yeah. Well, you're all over the place now, so everybody can see you everywhere you've been. Last week when we first started trying to meet up, because it's been a couple weeks and we just kept pushing it because of your laryngitis, but you had just come off of doing the Grammys.
Yeah, I actually attended the Grammys. I used to be the musical director of the pre-tell show.
Okay.
Before that, I haven't done that for a couple of years.
Oh, I thought you were down there doing that because I saw a picture of a Larry Batiste parking spot.
Right, that was on one of those Facebook, whatever, but. That was probably from a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
But I'm still, they just gave me a lifetime membership with the Recording Academy, and I'm still on committees, and I still support, and I still offer my little advice and those type of things. And so I still do mentoring things with the Recording Academy.
Yeah.
And I think I probably will always do that. So, I did go down for the show and had some meetings and stuff. It was great.
Yeah. So your involvement down there, too, recently had to do with the NAMM show.
NAMM, I've been musical director. NAMM has a show called the Tech Awards,
yeah.
which they really is right up my alley because they really award and acknowledge the people who are behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The people who are creating the software, the microphones, and all that stuff. And it's such an important show.
I used to work at Mix.
Oh, well, you know all
over
about
in
it.
Emeryville with the hubcaps on the building.
You know all about it because it derives out of, Hilo Resner, who used to, be the founder of Mix Magazine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is my 22nd year doing that show.
Yeah.
And it's a real blessing. It's really fun. Keep changing with the times and all that.
Are you in touch with Hillel Resner?
Hillel, I've talked to him. Maybe it's been about a year now.
Okay.
But he retired a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, when I was working there, Hillel had stepped down as publisher, and Jeff Turner took over.
Yes.
For him. And that's when I was there, which I believe was sometime around 95 or 6.
Okay.
So, actually, 95, because I got married in 95. So I was working there around then. And then I would come back to help out when they would do, hey, we got a big push to get the recording industry source book out and stuff. And so I would come and help out on a seasonal basis sometimes and stay in touch with people, but I haven't spoken to a lot of those folks in a long time. Chris Patton, I worked there with Chris Patton.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Hillel's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Just amazing, man. And I really credit him for it's all about people and relationships. Mm-hmm. Everything is about that, and being able to pick up the phone and make a phone call and make something happen, that's powerful, And so I met Hillel through the Recording Academy. We were wanting to do something for the R&B committee, for our R&B community rather, and so the thing again about everybody creating songs and stuff like that, but nobody really knew about publishing and those kind of things. So we created an event surrounded around that. When I first joined the Recording Academy, I didn't see me. I would see rock. I would see rock events, but I didn't see, any R&B events.
Really?
This is back in the day. This is, of course, over 22 years ago. And
that's not that long ago, though,
I
Larry.
know.
To imagine that such a circumstance could exist.
Well, plus the young people aren't joiners, and to join an organization like that was something kind of different. They don't want to go to meetings and things like that. And so, but I don't know, something's wrong with me. But I joined.
You went to the meetings. You showed up.
Yeah, they asked me to be on a board, and I became a governor and all that kind of stuff. But one thing I noticed once becoming a governor, I said they didn't have many R&B events. So I said that to Hillel. He said, "You're right." So we produced an event. It was pretty successful, and that was in the 80s. And during that time, the popular groups were the Tonys and In Vogue. So we had them come and speak to the kids and that whole thing.
And you went to Castlemont High, so you were just part of that cast of characters.
But it was really good. And I didn't really know Hillel, and he didn't know me. All we knew was that we wanted to do something good for that community. Yeah. We had success, and then after the show was over, he said, "Hey, I do this show called the Tech Awards. How would you like to be musical director?" I'm going, well, this guy's never heard my music. He doesn't know anything.
You don't even know if I can play.
He doesn't know if I could do this.
Yeah.
And so he said, let's go to lunch. And we go to lunch the next day. And he said, here's the script. I'm going, oh, there's a script. We're reading it through, and there's all these, Paul Schaefer and people from the Eagles and all these groups. I said, they're going to be there? He goes, yeah, they're going to be there. So I said, oh, this is a pretty big show. And so I'm going, what a chance this man took on me to not know what I could do and offer me this big show. And it was in New York. And so I'm thinking, well, I don't know any musicians in New York, but I do have this one friend. His name was Tom Barney. Tom Barney was the bass player. I met him when he was playing with Luther. Through a mutual friend, he's playing with Luther Vandross out here at the Circle Star Theater. So I called Tom Barney. I said, look, I got this gig. Could you put together a band for me in New York? He said, sure. Now, at that time, he was a musical director for Steely Dan.
Slow down. Hang on a minute. Let me digest this. Okay, so please, carry on.
So, he had done, since Luther, he had been the bass player for a couple of years for Saturday Night Live. Okay. And at that time, he was MDing a Steely Dan.
Yeah.
And so I called
And that was the year that they did it, because they never toured. And so finally they said, we're going to do a tour. And when you've had the bands that they have assembled over the course of the year, how do you put together a band to play for Steely Dan? Because there were 100 guys who played on all those records. Yeah. So they tasked him with doing it.
Yeah, they made him do it. Made him do it. Yeah. But, I called my friend, and he said, sure, I could do that for you, but I have to play. I said, sure, you could play. And I get to New York.
You're like, I was looking for a bass player anyway.
Look, I get to New York, and my house band is Steely Dan's band.
Come on. So who was there? Ricky Lawson?
That clinched the gig for me, and I really can't remember.
Yeah, I'd say that's knocking it out of the park, Larry.
Yeah, and the second thing that happened for me when I got, now this is before the days of Google and all that kind of stuff, so I only knew the artist's name by going and buy their records or whatever. So one of the guys was a guy named Al Cooper.
Al Cooper.
So I'm in my hotel room. Al Cooper calls the room, and he said, this is Al Cooper. I'm going, oh, I knew that name. So he says, you know who I am? I said, yeah, you're the guy from Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And he says, well, what do you play? What are you going to play when I walk on? And I'm thinking, well, this guy doesn't have a life, because who cares?
Yeah.
People don't really care what the music is when they're
sure they don't.
Who cares? So, but he calls me and I say, well, I thought I played Lucretia McKeever. It was pretty dynamic. I listened to the greatest hits. This hip. So he says, if you play that, I'm walking out of the room.
Oh, come on.
And so now I'm going, oh my God. I said, well, what do you want me to play? He says, well, play one of my hits. Play one of my solo hits. I'm going, well, sir, I don't know your hits. He says, well, play such and such. And I said, I don't know that. We get to about 5 songs, and we're just butting heads. This is why he's getting angrier and angrier. And so finally he says, well, how about I'll Love You More Than You'll Ever Know? I'm going, oh, wait a minute. The one that Donny Hathaway sings? He said, yeah, he covered my tune. And I said, well, oh, my God, I love that song. He says, you do?
Oh.
All of a sudden he got soft.
There's some common ground.
He says, oh, that's wonderful. And I said, well, look, I said, yeah, I know that song so well. I could write a chart to that song without any musical, instrumental reference.
Yeah, just with a pencil.
I'll write it. He said, I'll tell you what, if you write a chart to the song, I'll sing it. So I said, well, let me check with the producers. I called the producers, and I said, Al Cooper wants to sing. And they go, oh, my God, we've trying to get him to show up for 5 years. How did you get him to sing?
Because I'm Larry Batiste.
It was all a fluke. And long story short, I've had the gig for 22 years.
Wow. That's a wonderful story. 22 years you've had that gig. So that gig used to be in New York, and now it's in Los Angeles.
It changed. It used to change wherever the conference was. It was associated with AES conference.
Yeah, okay.
And so if they have it in New York, it's there. And then it went into financial trouble maybe 6-7 years ago, and NAMM took it over. They said, we'll do the show.
I'm glad that they did that, because that's something that really needs to go on.
Yes.
It needs to be something, because it ties the recording community together in a way that nothing else could.
Really important. It's really important for these people to be acknowledged. So it's just really good. And it was a confidence builder for me to not to have an attitude, but to realize with artists, they're just people. And, all I need to know from the artist is what song you want to do with kids in and that kind of thing. And so all these other trips, stuff going on, I don't even get into it. So
don't have to overcomplicate things.
Don't have to overcomplicate stuff, So I just stick to the business and whatever, and try to be polite and that kind of thing. So
who was in that first band, Larry? I want to know who was in that Steely Dan.
It's so bad that I can't remember.
Well, 22 years, that's a lot of years to have.
I don't want to misquote somebody's name and that kind of thing. But I've had some really good bands over the years, and I just simply call people. And
who was in the band this year? Now, that just passed in January.
And this year I had a guy named Smitty Smith on bass.
Okay. Who
plays with Boney James and a whole bunch of artists, Lee Ritenour and stuff like that. Will Kennedy played drums with the Yellow Jackets and that. Toshi Yanagi on guitar. He plays in the Jimmy Kimmel Live band.
Well, that's a cast.
Just a whole bunch of people.
That's a nice rhythm section.
Luis Conte on percussion.
Oh, yeah, he's okay, too.
Charles McNeil, he used to live in the Bay Area. He's now in Vegas, but he's playing with Loud Love and a whole bunch of great people. So it's really cool. The whole thing about this deal in musical directing is just creating win-win situations.
Okay.
Just trying to have it work out for everybody. The bottom line is just always bring back the spirit of why we do music in the first place. Without all the politics, without all the whatever, the hoopla, whatever. It's just music and it's fun. And so we try to bring it back to that place and make it work.
You're supposed to play music. That's playing.
It's play.
Yeah.
It's playing, yeah.
Wow. That's a great story, man. 22 years of doing that.
Yes,
that's a pretty good gig to have year after year after year.
It's really cool. The thing is, music is always the easy part. It's a people business, and just dealing with all the logistics. In a show like that, musicians have different endorsers and stuff.
Sure.
Just make sure you got the right gear for everybody. It's just a lot of logistics, a lot of administrative work.
So there's a lot of dynamics to it that go beyond the music, but you never want to forget about the love of music.
Right, absolutely.
What about the progression of that gig? What special moments can you recall from that where you thought, well, that's something that's really special. I'm going to have to lock that away.
They're all really special.
Yeah.
Everybody brings by just being open and letting people bring what they bring to it. I think this year, we honored Joe Perry this year from Aerosmith.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that was, he is an interesting camp. They're stars.
Yeah, yeah. They're as rock star gets, right? That's Aerosmith, for crying out loud. They almost invented the craft of rock stardom.
Exactly. And so, but that was easy to break too, because it always comes down to the music.
To the music, yeah.
And then he has a group called Hollywood Vampires.
Yes.
And so we featured them and Johnny Depp with Alice Cooper on lead vocals. And my wife was in the green room talking to, they're talking about gardening and shopping and cooking, those kind of, you think it's going to be some rock star thing, but no, he's going to, this damn makeup, I got to put it on again.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So we're all the same.
I wonder how Joe Perry was chosen this year and what went behind that. Because, he could have been chosen practically any of the 22 years you've been doing this, you could have chosen Joe Perry, but I guess everybody gets their turn, and the Hollywood Vampires probably just keeps him fresh in everybody's mind.
Yeah, it does. And that's the decision that the producers made, because it's the Les Paul Award.
Yeah.
So it's usually given to guitar players. And last year it was Slash, and we had Lindsey Buckingham and Paul McCartney. But we've had some authors. We had Stevie
Slouches.
Wonder and stuff, it's about, understanding and people who use the technology and that to make their stuff happen.
Use the technology, push the technology. It's the celebration of the part that we are music nerds about. The stuff that we nerd out to.
Right.
It's like, okay, all the regular listeners out there are going to enjoy this part.
Right.
But this part, these tech awards, this is special because this is for the musicians.
Yeah, for the musicians and for the people who make the musicians sound good.
Yeah.
And
it's for the technicians, really.
For the technicians, yeah. And, the host was Sinbad. Sinbad is a computer and an instrument geek. He's a closet musician.
I didn't know that about Sinbad.
Oh, man. So, he's up on all the gear. Yeah. He's got all the pronunciations. He's just perfect.
I love Sinbad. I didn't know that about him, but it makes perfect sense because whenever he does like the Sinbad cruise, he's always got old school acts that sometimes you go, man, boy, did he put a roster together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So he knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
And he really does. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still play the trombone?
Not really. Trombone is a brass instrument that you have to play. You have to play a brass instrument every day.
All the time, yeah.
All the time. The last time I played the trombone is maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow.
And I was producing this blues artist who's a good friend of mine, E.C. Scott.
Okay.
And she had a couple of songs that needed horns, and she didn't have the budget. She was on a blues budget.
Right.
And so I said, oh, God.
The blues budget.
We need trombone on this. I went and found my horn.
Wow.
And I practiced for 3 weeks. This was play 2 songs.
Wow.
And after playing the 2 songs,
did you get the cheeks back?
Oh my God! I thought I was going to die though. I'm going. This is way too much.
You squeezed out the 2 songs though.
I squeezed it out, but that used to be that was a trombone major.
Yeah.
But as I got busier and started producing and writing and all these other things, it got less and less the days I would practice. The 1 week go by, then the month go by, and again, I need to hire a trombone player for this gig.
Yeah. Well, you were being busy. Mm-hmm. It's not like you were distracted for distraction's sake.
Yeah.
You were busy.
Absolutely.
And so the call for the trombone also, because it's such a particular instrument, which, by the way, to me, if I go somewhere and I go, oh, look, there's a band. If I see a trombone, that's when you know it's serious.
You're right, exactly.
Because everybody's got a rhythm section.
Right.
And then you could say, well, you're narrowing it down a little bit if you have a sax player.
Yeah.
But you can get away with a sax and a trumpet.
Yeah, but that's the cream of the...
Right. When you see the trombone, it's like, oh.
It just fills it out in a big, rich, full sound.
Right.
Warmth, that just fills it out.
Well, and it's, yes, absolutely, from a sonic perspective. But if you can categorize the kind of band that you're walking into when you walk into a venue and you see a trombone, you have to weed out so many other simpler arranged bands that when you get to the band with a trombone, you have to think, okay, first of all, for them to have a trombone, this club owner or whatever the venue is had to pay.
Yeah.
You got to get serious. It's not a thrown together band if they got a trombone. By the time you get a trombone, you probably writing out charts.
Because there's so many trombone jokes, It's good to hear somebody who really values, the trombone
what's a trombone joke?
I don't know.
We had Mick Gillette on the show.
Yeah, Mick Gillette. Oh, my God. What a great man he was.
What a great man. We love him, still celebrate him. And he really blessed us on our show because when we had him, we went to his house, he had us over and we did an episode with him and his daughter Megan. It was, he's always been a hero of mine. My dad was a sax player.
Okay.
So I grew up on TOP, and then I studied with Dave for a very short time because I wasn't serious enough. But so naturally, I'd always admired Mick's work, and when he agreed to be on the show, we thought, oh, man, this is magic. This is special.
Man.
And then when we sat down with him, we started to realize how really magical and how special it was and what a guy he was.
Awesome. And Tower Power is such an institution.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up in that era where everybody wanted to play, they wanted to be Tower Power.
Sure.
They were gods.
Yeah.
And still are. They sound great. I heard them a few months ago.
They still sound great.
They still sound awesome.
Yeah.
So
you put the trombone away. And you started getting so busy producing, writing, arranging, MDing.
Yeah, singing. And so sing on a bunch of stuff, bunch of commercials. And so when I realized that, oh, wow, I can sing. I don't have to bring any instrument or anything. This is good.
Now, as a drummer, I will say that's annoying to me. The singer always annoys me. The flute player. Harmonica player.
Exactly.
Those are the people who put their instrument in their pocket or they have their instrument on their person and they get to walk away.
Man, that was a fluke and a great discovery, I think, somewhere.
You didn't sing at all when you were coming up in high school and stuff?
Well, towards the end of high school, I was in a band called Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic, and that was bunch of awesome players in that group. But one day, I think the lead singer didn't show up, or he couldn't make it, or got sick, or something, and I had to sing a few songs.
Oh, that's bad.
And it worked out really good.
That's bad for the singer when they go, okay, well, I'm going to have to call in sick for this one. And then the next gig, it's like, we don't need you as much as we thought we needed you, because we got Larry right here.
No, it's good. And then I was in the horn section with, myself and Clay Tovin and others, and we both sang. So it really, then we started writing songs in high school in 12th grade, and we started doing our demos. And that's where we really got, pretty proficient in doing, because we had to do our own stuff, so we had to do everything.
You want to talk about a blues budget? You're on a high school budget.
But people started liking our blend and go, well, we want that blend on our record. So we became background singers. We went on to make tons of records and jingles and things like that.
Yeah. So when you were doing that, who were some of your producing mentors here in the Bay Area as you were coming up? Did you find yourself in rooms like Fantasy and in the company of people who were producing records that influenced you?
You know, it was really crazy. You know, I was influenced by a bunch of records, you know, but when we had those opportunities back in the day, we were producing ourselves.
Yeah.
And so with
that's pretty amazing.
With Bill Summers and Summer's Heat, we instantly became co-producers of his records.
Yeah.
Because he was very impressed by us. So we learned that kind of on the fly. We were really blessed to work around great engineers and great studios, and so we produced a lot of our own records. But I always had influence of listening to George Duke and you know, and then our very own Narada Michael Walton here, you know, for when he started doing those, you know, Whitney records and all that, just listening to the production styles and techniques and stuff. So there's always great people that I've listened to, especially all the old Motown and Stax stuff. Could you imagine them before they had multi-channel recording, you know, all these 4-track great records that come out?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, those are ears.
It's almost like you had to be spot arranger
Yes.
to be producer, because you couldn't just, let's just track that again and see how that goes.
Right. No cut and paste.
Yeah.
None of that kind of stuff. You know, even, you know, when we were recording back in the day, we really had to think. We had to have the arrangements in our heads and really come up with the parts and know what will work and what won't work, you know, that kind of thing. So,
well, that's what amazes me about the fact that you guys learned producing on the fly, because there is a craft in there that a lot of people don't realize is a talent, and that is the ability to understand the story of the arrangement.
yeah.
Because an arrangement to most people goes like, well, the song opens and there's usually a verse, and then you have a chorus, and then those who are attentive will understand that you have a second verse, but maybe you drop a little something extra on the second verse just to differentiate it a little bit.
Right.
And then you have your chorus, and then you go into your solo break, and then so that's the easy part, the standard song.
Well, when you get to music, you know, musically it's a conversation. And so, you know, like we all talk, but not all at the same time. And so, you know, the melody always has the lead and whatever, and everybody else's job is to accompany. So you got a conversation, and they talk in frequencies. So you got your low end, your mid range, and your high end, but it's all the parts have to fit and work together and leave space for that voice, that melody in between. So I look at music like that, and I look at, you know, the song, you know, and the sections of the song having their function. And so, and telling the story and having to develop, you know, look at the first verse as being where you introduce the characters or introduce the situation or what's happening. And then your job, you know, after the chorus, which is the solution of whatever it is, or the topic, you know, the most crucial part to me is the second verse.
Okay.
And that's where people make the mistake, you know, is you must continue the story. Yeah, you have to ask, you know, and then what happens? That's the idea of the second verse. And so a lot of people, and I used to do this too, is to basically write different words but say the same thing you already said in the first verse, so the story doesn't develop. And so the whole thing is to develop a story and make the song actually a mini movie.
Okay.
And that's what I really admire so much about the Motown writers and the Stax writers is in 2.5 minutes, you have a whole story.
A whole story.
A whole movie, you know, of the events that happens from top to bottom, and you got it, you know. And so
it's funny that you mentioned that. There seems to be, when you have that song that really feels magical to you, it's because you went on a little ride and you had a resolution.
You took a journey, and someone took you there full of situations, full of imagery, you know, full of phrases that meant something.
Is there a song you can point to that early on in your career created some kind of clarity for you? Not necessarily for that thing, but just like when you look back at the songs that you loved, that you learned from, whether it's a George Duke tune or a Stevie Wonder tune, or just something that spoke to you in a way that made you get it a little more than you did.
Well, definitely. I think Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
When I start listening to his stuff, I'm going. There's full of imagery and things that you could really relate to.
Yeah.
Topics. I can't name.
Song after song after song.
After song after song
for him. I mean, down to Nappy-Headed Boy,
right.
and you trade yours for candy.
Right,
I mean, just little things like that where you go, ooh, I remember
knocks
that.
me off my feet.
Uh-huh.
The one about the joy.
Yeah.
It's all these songs, and then he was socially conscious too.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, and like you think of a story like Midnight Train to Georgia. From one, L.A. was too much for the man, and go on with the whole thing. And
that immediately puts you, like when you talk about introducing a character.
Right, exactly.
That immediately puts you in the shoes of a person in a
situation
struggle.
You can relate to.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about, the song is about making a connection.
Yeah.
It's about something that people can relate to, something that you can sing along with that you get. We know that musicians don't buy records. So, who are we doing this for? We're doing it to make a connection, to make somebody's day better, something they can sing along with, something that they're going to remember. Have a great melody and have a great story, have a great title, that type of thing.
Yeah, there's some humanity in that story that's going to reach somebody.
Yeah, that you can relate to.
Yeah.
And so
I want to read some more of these Larryisms. How about, love yourself first, because that's who you will be spending the rest of your life with.
Oh, man.
You posted a picture of yourself in the driver's seat of your car with some sunglasses on, and the caption was, sometimes the best therapy is a drive and music.
Absolutely.
And let's see. Love life and it will love you back.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are, here's the classic Larryism right here. Your best teacher is your last mistake.
Yes, sir.
These things, I don't know how many people in the world you are guiding with these things, Larry.
Well, I don't know. Your best teacher is your last mistake. I mean, that's where you're going to learn from. You could read about it. People could tell you, but thank God if you don't kill yourself and you learn something.
Right.
You get it then.
Uh-huh.
You really get it.
The other thing that you've done, besides all of the music and words of encouragement and stuff that you've given us, is that you're in the midst of a successful career at raising 3 children. Mm-hmm. So you got all of these lessons that you learned out in the world, out on the road, and you became a parent somewhat later in your life, right? Mm-hmm. You and your wife had a lot of great times and then decided to hunker down at some point,
right, exactly,
and put some children on this world.
And that's a career shift too, because you go from touring to, for me, I want to be the type of father that was present. Mm-hmm. And that's everything, because things happen in these kids' lives on a daily basis.
Right.
So you can't call it in.
Yeah.
So if I go somewhere, it's like 2 or 3 days or whatever, come back. So try reshaping, my career to where I could work. So you go into teaching and things that try to work locally. You go into writing and arranging for people and that kind of thing. And so making that kind of shift to be present, for the kids is, you do it on purpose.
It's an important decision. Yeah. It's one that must be done on purpose, because at some point you're going to be offered something and you're going to say, I'm not going to take that one.
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared to be able to do that.
Yeah. And I've been really lucky to learn from a lot of people that came before me, and you ask yourself, what is success?
Yeah.
And it means different things to different people. And sometimes it's having a big gig or whatever, but sometimes it's not. I've seen people with huge gigs and making a lot of money, but they didn't know their kids.
Yeah.
They was the guy who wrote the check. I'm going, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. You got much more to give to a child who needs influence and guidance, and your kids still call you.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
I mean, you put your phone away to do this interview, but while I was setting up microphones, your phone was ringing.
Yeah, my phone is crazy.
You don't want
me to leave it in your car. You go crazy.
But people's kids don't call them after a while. They're like, oh, no, I'm going to go strike out into the world. I don't want to hear what that old fuddy-duddy has to say. I'm not calling Dad.
Yeah.
I'm going to call my friend.
Right, exactly.
My friend will give me the right advice.
Yeah. But
your kids still call you.
Yeah, you just put it out there and then let them make their own decision, and hopefully they'll make the right decision if you know.
And sometimes they won't.
Sometimes they won't.
Hopefully they don't hurt themselves too bad and they
where
have another
learn.
good lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never lose. You learn.
Yeah. What's on the horizon for Larry and Claytoven, or for just Larry?
Well, what I'm doing now, I'm trying to finish this book. And, it's an interesting process. First, when I got the book deal, I said, I can write a book in 6 months, so it'll be over. But what happens is every idea you have snowballs into another idea. For example, I said, well, hell, I don't know everything about songwriting. I should interview some other writers and some other producers. And so that one idea turns into a 7 or 8 month thing, because you have to coordinate the thing and go, I can't interview Holland Dozier Holland without having to document it. So then you got a video crew you got to get together. Then you have to, transcribe. Then you have, there's all these type of things from this one little idea.
Yeah, this kernel.
I'm going, that's why it takes so long to write a book, And then I try to support people and all that kind of stuff. So I have to kind of cut back on my lifestyle and things I like to do, even if it's in good nature. I was out, there was this artist that I really love. His name is Trombone Shorty. And I have a friend that was booking him, and he invited me to the show. So I'm at the show.
Where was the show? Did you go to New Orleans?
It was at the Fillmore. Okay. In San Francisco. This is a couple of years ago. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting
Trombone Shorty at the Fillmore.
Could you believe
That's
that?
great.
So I'm sitting next to this Asian woman, and about an hour into it, we start talking. She says, what do you do? I told her. I said, what do you do? And she says, I'm an author. I'm going, oh, wow. I said, what's your name? She says, Amy Tan. So, Amy Tan wrote the Joy Luck Club. So I'm thinking, I said, well, I'm an aspiring author. Do you have any advice for me? She said, sure. First of all, you should have your ass at home.
What are you doing out here? Take your ass.
So
yes,
that for me, that was good advice, because it was a kind of a reminder that I need to learn how to say no, and I really should be at home. But I love Trombone Shorty so much, but that kind of thing. So
you get to take a time out every once in a while.
Take a time out, but that was good for me to do that.
I can't remember who coined the phrase, but somebody said that they needed some AIC time, and AIC stood for ass in chair. I put my ass in this chair and get to this work.
Right, exactly. Now, I have pretty good discipline, because we started our business in the 12th grade, and I've worked for me, all my life. And so you have to, there's nobody over you cracking the whip. And so I have pretty good discipline. But, as we get older, there's so many things going on with family and all this type of thing. So, like people would say to me, oh, if I had a book deal, I would just get in my car and I would just leave for 3 months. Well, that's not a reality for me, so that kind of thing.
That's a good point.
Day by day.
Yeah. I was going to ask you how that was different, because it seems like when you're young, you're susceptible to distraction as well. But you're right. As you get older, more people start to depend on you. Yeah. Your situation, you start to be responsible for more and more. And now you have plenty that could distract you if you were less disciplined.
Plenty. And you always have to look at new, because I don't have a manager and all that kind of business. So you're always looking for new opportunities. You have to pick out, creative days. And then there's days where you just take meetings and you look at all, then you got to be able to weigh all the propositions and things that come in and see if it's in the path that you're trying to go into, that type of thing. So it's, it's a lot of, like managing yourself and being an entrepreneur and that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I have, like I said, been very fortunate that this show puts me in the presence of some people that I love and admire, and I love and admire you, Larry,
I love you
all
too,
of these things that you give us every day, and all the great influence and all of the love and positivity that you spread. I have had you for an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I also want to tell you that anything that we can do, that I can do to further your anything you're doing, you just let me know. I'm in on the mission.
Hey, absolutely. I'm there.
All right,
my brother.
Larry Batiste, everybody.
Thank you so much.
closer. Baby, I don't wanna think about you. Hey, I'm on a natural high, and I get this way each time I look at you. I'm on cloud, not coming down. I'm a new man when I'm around you. Girl, I anticipate each new day, 'cause I know I'm gonna spend my time with you. What you do to me, baby, little things you do keep me loving you. What you do to me, baby, every day together just gets better. Love, it's some kind of magic that excites me about the things you do say. I just can't get enough. Seems I want you more with every passing day. I'm just a fool when I'm with you. It doesn't matter where we are, just hold me together. I'm close, my heart is singing a symphony of love, baby. What you do to me, baby, little things you do keep me loving you. Yeah. What you do to me, baby, every day together just gets better. What you do to me, baby, what you do to me. Oh, you, what you do, baby, what you do to me. Every day together just gets better. What you do to me, baby, little things you do keep me loving you. What you do to me, baby, gonna spend my time loving you, baby. Girl, I am a fool when it's me and you.